And welcome to Hardball Sports Talk, brought to you by Hardball Sports Media. My name is Brandon, and joining me, like always, is Alex. Alex, how are you today? Are you there?
Gotta hit the unmute button.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm good. How about you?
Well, you scared me because I've been coughing, so I thought maybe I coughed and forgot to hit my mute button back on.
Eh,
So,
no, we're just going with the flow right now.
yep, it's going to be a great episode, we can already tell.
Oh yeah, very much so.
So last time we spoke, it was Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving?
I ate too much food as always, but I made some money, so I'm happy.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, I had a good one also. I didn't make any money, well, besides my work, but
Yeah.
I have bad luck with the sports gambling, so I just don't do a whole lot of it.
Oh no, this was family gambling.
Oh, okay, even better.
Yeah. So I won money off her family. So
There you go, even better.
Yeah.
A couple of notes for you guys real quick before we get too started here. I am dealing with this cough of some sort. I'm just starting to feel sick the last couple of days. So if I go quiet all of a sudden, I hit my mute button and started coughing up a lung. Hopefully that won't happen too often. And then secondly, I have Monday Night Football on behind me, so if you see me look up a lot, that's what it is. If you're on the podcast, well, that second one, you have no idea what I just said, so it's okay. But with all that being said, let's get started on today's episode. So Alex, I have a trivia question for you today.
Oh boy.
So, since 2019, out of all the pro sports leagues, so that'd be the NFL, MLB, NHL, and NBA, who do you think has the worst record since 2019 in all sports, or the worst winning percentage?
Winning percentage. The Detroit Pistons.
The Pistons are second to last, believe it or not, at 308. So basically, they've won 30% of their games.
Okay. The Houston Texans.
The Texans are at 362, so they're a few spots ahead of the Pistons.
Can you give me the sport, or that give it away?
That might give it away with stuff going on right now. That also just gave it away.
The Oakland Athletics.
No, I don't even know where they're at. The A's are at 465.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess they were better early in the 1920 and 21 probably.
Yeah, I think their last, I think like in 2019, I think they made a close run to the playoff, if I remember right. In the 2020, the COVID year, I don't remember exactly what happened, but a lot of crazy things in baseball happened. And then they basically gave up after that.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to say it's known in hockey.
No, it's not hockey.
Okay, basketball.
Nope.
I'm going to say it's football.
Yes, it's a football team.
Ooh, football team. The Carolina Panthers. Yep, and there we go. Brandon, way to mute yourself, buddy. Yep, you're still muted. Yeah.
I'm still muted.
There you go. Good job, buddy.
I hit it again.
Sure you did.
I did. I hit it like 3 times.
I couldn't hear anything, so.
Well, that's okay. We're gonna have a lot of Carolina Panthers. So they have the worst record since 2019 in all of sports with a, let's see if I can get back up here, a 303 winning percentage.
Ooh.
That's not good.
No.
And considering especially that they went 7-9 last year and were not that far off from a playoff spot in the NFC South, because the NFC South last year was just as bad as the NFC South is this year.
Yep.
The only difference is last year there was Tom Brady, so
yeah,
there was always that one hope. Well, the Bucs will get in and they'll make a run because Tom Brady does that, and not even Tom Brady could save that division. Before we get too far away with this, though, I want to mention the Detroit teams. Who do you think had? Well, you know the Pistons are at 308, so between the Tigers, Lions, and Wings, who do you think is the best of those 3 teams since 2019?
The best. It's not going to be the Lions because they've had a little bit of rough. I'm going to say the Tigers, actually. Only because they played more games.
They're at 413, so the Tigers are the best Detroit team.
Yep.
which is pathetic.
Yeah.
The Lions at 382 and the Wings at 367, and like
Oof.
we said, the Pistons at 308. So it's a great time to be a Detroit sports fan right now. Uh,
So great.
it's so great. We'll talk more about pro teams here. Today's mainly a college episode. There's a few pro things we want to go over. But if you ask me anyways, there's some nice pieces for the Tigers. I'm not overly in love with the team right now, but there are some nice pieces to get excited about. The Wings, I trust Yzerman.
Yeah.
The one thing with Yzerman though, I don't want to go too deep into this. We'll talk more about this in a different episode maybe in the future. But he did build Tampa Bay's roster, kind of. When he got there, I believe Stamkos was already there, and there's another one, Hedman, I think, was already there, if I'm not mistaken.
Edmund, and I'm pretty sure he was probably in the back half of his career, but was St. Louis still there?
He might have been.
I think he was still there.
But, like...
But yeah, you're right. The pillars, you could call them, would be Stamkos and Hedman.
Yeah. So, now you got to build the rest of the roster around it, and Yzerman did. But... So when he came to Detroit, your star is Dylan Larkin. And Dylan Larkin, I love the guy to death, but he's a second-line center.
Yeah.
But again, we'll talk about that more on a different day. But the reason I wanted to bring that up about the worst team since 2019 is because the before mentioned Carolina Panthers fired Frank Reich today. A lot of people said this is a strong possibility. I'm not a fan of finding a coach unless it's absolutely disastrous in his first year, like Urban Meyer or Nathaniel Hackett last year. This is actually the third year in a row that a first-year coach is being fired in the middle of the season in his first year. So Hackett might have made it through all 16 last year. I don't know, or 17. That I don't remember for sure. But Urban obviously got fired in Jacksonville halfway through the season a couple years ago. And the Michigan fan here is laughing his head off.
That dude, I tell you. Moving on. We
don't want to get in too much trouble here. We're trying to be not homers here. We're trying our best, but
he was
hard.
Not a professional coach. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, he was not. He's a great college coach, though.
Oh, one of the best.
Yeah,
on the field, off the field, again.
Yeah. But Frank Reich being let go by the Panthers. Actually, they let go of 3 coaches today. I didn't know this until I saw it on the bottom line on the Monday Night Football here. But they also fired quarterback coach Josh McCown, who was a quarterback for literally every team in the league, it felt like.
Yep.
And then running backs coach and assistant head coach Deuce Staley, who was actually with the Lions. Yeah, really? I didn't know that either until I saw it on the bottom line like 20 minutes ago.
I didn't know it. Yeah. Wow.
So Staley was with the Lions with Campbell last year, and he asked Dan Campbell, he said, "Hey, listen, my mom lives down in the Carolinas. Can I go down, coach with them so I can be closer to my mom?" And Dan Campbell, stand-up guy, he's going to let him do that all day long. He's like, "Yeah, of course, no problem, go ahead." So he leaves Detroit, which Detroit right now looks like a nice coaching gig. Not last Thursday, but again, we'll talk about that more on Thursday's episode. And then coming out and basically getting fired halfway through your first season in Carolina. It's a rough situation there. This is David Tepper bought the Carolina Panthers in 2018. He has fired 5 coaches, I believe it was. I think he's had a different coach every year.
That sounds about right.
Because he had Rivera, and then from Rivera he went to Matt Rule, and then he fired Rule, and went to Steve Wilkes, who has the interim, and then Wilkes finished pretty strong last year, so people thought he would be a candidate for the full-time gig. Well, then he went with Frank Reich, and then Frank Reich got fired today. And the special teams coordinator, his name off the top of my head I don't have, but he'll be taking over. So this is just another job opening for Ben Johnson to go interview for, is how I see it. But at the same time, if you are a head coaching candidate in the NFL right now. Yes, there's only 32 of these jobs, but you're talking about an owner who's fired. We just listed 4 or 5 coaches right there in 5 years. If you want money, then go right ahead. But if you want job stability, that's probably not the place to go,
Yeah.
because you're not going to be there long enough to see your team succeed.
Correct. Yeah.
Especially with the trade they did last year to get Bryce Young. But I could go on for hours about this, and the next topic you could go on for hours about.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you do that because of my coughing issue I'm going to be having over here today. So we're going to, mainly today, we're going to have a college football episode. It's something that we've wanted to do for a while, but it just hasn't worked out with the NFL basically controlling the podcast. So we decided let's do a second episode a week, and then we can cover college football, some episodes Major League Baseball, free agency especially, NHL, we can talk about that. But today, with rivalry week in college football this past weekend, and then conference championship week this weekend, we figured this would be a good time to talk college football. So the first thing we want to get into is the different realignment going on in college football. The main ones obviously are like USC and UCLA, Oregon and Washington joining the Big Ten, because when you think of Oregon and Washington, UCLA and USC, you think Midwest Big Ten
obviously.
football.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. There's nothing
That's
wrong
the
with
first thing that came to my mind actually was Nebraska and USC playing Rutgers and
nothing.
Midwest
But
football.
that says Midwest football, like flying from the West Coast to the East Coast and vice versa.
Yep. But this is the state of college football now. As
Yeah.
much as I don't really like it personally. But it is what it is. It's all about money. It's all about basically trying to get to the college football playoffs. Is basically that's all it's come down to. And I like the college football playoff system, not how it is right now, but the potential it has.
Yes.
But I don't think you need to do this whole conference realignment either. But
No.
that's just my 2 cents on that. And then Texas, is Oklahoma also joining them? I believe.
Yeah, those are the 2 big names coming out of the Big 12.
So they're going.
the SEC.
Yep. So that's the big one there. And then, is there any other notable schools going anywhere?
Not unless you're from the state of Delaware. They got approval to move to the FBS, so they're going to the Conference USA. So they're going to be considered Division I in football, at least. I didn't see if they were any other sport, but let's face it, football takes over everything.
Yeah, but I mean, I was listening to one of the radio shows today on my driving. I have a job where I do a lot of driving around, and they were talking about the college football realignment and how nobody really thinks about the other sports with all of this. But like Washington and Rutgers now are going to be playing women's volleyball against each other. So it's not just football.
Right.
So now football is going to make a lot of money, but the other sports are in trouble.
I feel bad for some of the student athletes.
Yeah,
they're going to be that's going to be tough for them going, like I said earlier, East Coast to West Coast and vice versa, and then having to get up the next day and do an exam or test or whatever.
Yeah,
I feel like definitely it's going to be a struggle, and they're going to have to adjust, and hopefully they get rid of this stupid idea,
or at least keep it to just football, because let's face it, that's the only sport that this is all about is football.
When you're bringing in all the money for the schools,
yeah,
it makes sense that you're gonna put different schools or different states with different schools and flying across the country.
Yep. But college football has basically now become minor league football for the NFL. I mean, it's always been that way, but now it's really just its own business. And I don't even know if the NCAA has anything to do, like the trophy, for example. If you think of watch any other sport, and they have this plaque looking trophy, and it says NCAA, and it's got Michigan State men's basketball, or whatever. You go to football, and it looks like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So It's not even
Oh
an NCAA sport, basically.
no, it's the cash money for college football. For the NCAA, it's all about the money, and for these different conferences, it's all about how much money we can get from other
Yep.
schools.
Yep. So that's the main thing with the realignment going on. It's going to be interesting here, especially the first couple years to see how teams adjust. When Harbaugh's suspension was going on, a lot of people were like, Michigan just said leave the Big Ten, go to the SEC. I said go to the Big 12 because the Big 12 is going to be wide open. Obviously, I don't see Michigan leaving, and I don't want Michigan to leave. But speaking of Michigan, though, their biggest rival, or not their biggest rival, their second biggest rival, arguably, Michigan State. Look at this transition right here.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, that was beautiful. They hired a new coach to replace Mel Tucker. They went to the Pac-12, which will not exist anymore. And they went to Oregon State to get their head man. Do you have his name on you?
It's Jonathan Smith.
Jonathan Smith. So when I first saw this, I chuckled a little bit because the first thing I saw was 36-36 record or something like that. And I'm like, come on, Sparty, really? Like, you're going to give me a 500 coach to play against? But, I mean, Michigan State, now the last couple of years, I believe he's actually done pretty well out in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oregon State.
Yeah.
And then from the coach's perspective, with all this moving around, where's Oregon State going next year? Do you know?
From what I heard, and I don't know if it's still true, the Mountain West Conference was actually reaching out to them.
Yeah. So your options basically are
the only conference out there for them to join.
Yeah.
Or they can go independent.
Yeah. So your options are going to the Mountain West or independent or have a guaranteed power school with now Michigan State isn't Michigan or Ohio State or Georgia or anything like that.
Right.
But it's a Big Ten school. So
yeah,
it's a smart decision for Coach Smith. In other news for coaching, Texas A&M, they fired Jimbo Fisher a couple weeks ago after beating Mississippi State by like 50 points too. Jimbo got fired on Sunday and Mississippi's coach got fired on Monday.
Yeah.
It was like, oh crap, well, if he beat us by 50, we better fire our coach too, type thing. But Texas A&M, they hired, is it Eichel? No, something.
Elko from Duke.
Yep. Elko was the defensive coordinator at A&M before taking the Duke head job. So he's going back to A&M. It's a nice hire. He knows the fan base. He knows the expectations. He knows what works and what doesn't work at A&M. And then Mississippi State, I believe that job is still open. But Mike Leach was there, and then he passed away, unfortunately. He's my favorite college coach of all time. I love that guy.
Actually, I think Mississippi State did hire
well, I haven't seen that.
It was I think he was the Oklahoma offensive coordinator.
Okay, yeah, I have not seen that.
Yeah, I think I've read that. But yes, Mike Gundy, or not Mike Gundy, also one of my favorite coaches. Mike Leach, another great coach. If you never listened to Mike Leach, go back to, I think it was early 2021, 22, about the Pac-12 mascot battles. And
yes.
That is Mike Leach to
a T.
You want to know why he's one of our favorite coaches, or was?
Just watch this video and you'll explain. It'll answer all your questions you have about him and us.
Yes.
And then Mike Leach, unfortunately, like I said, passed away last year. He also wrote a book about Geronimo. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, he wrote a book about the old Indian chief or Native American chief Geronimo.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he was just one of those guys that like had the weirdest personality you'll ever meet. There were times there was a sideline reporter who goes, "Hey, I'm getting married soon. Do you have any wedding advice for me?" And like he went off and like, "Yeah, I don't," basically, or tell him that you're in charge of the wedding and you're gonna ask him, do you want this? And he's gonna say, I don't care, but that's not gonna be a good enough answer for you. And yeah, yeah, it was a great time. But yeah, unfortunately, we lost Mike Leach last year, like I said, and not very often when a random coach, or not very often I feel like, oh man, that really sucks when like a random
Yeah,
celebrity dies. Like obviously you don't like people dying at all, but like
correct.
it just doesn't affect your day. It's like, oh, that's kind of sad. Then you just move on. But when Mike Leach passed away, like I don't think I cried, but like it wasn't just like, oh,
It
that sucks. It was
was
like
a sad day.
it
Yeah,
was a sad day.
yeah.
Yeah, never met the guy in my life,
Nope.
but it just felt like some part of college football now and sports in general is gone.
Yeah, another thing, one of my favorite things that he did, he was like an analyst or something for either Texas or Oklahoma, and those 2 were
Yes.
big rivals, and he came up with this game plan of creating, I think it was like 10 plays that were all fake. He would have one of his guys accidentally leave it on the bench or whatever and have the opposing team, you know, find it. Um, so it would be like you get in this formation, the other team would see it. They think they would know it was coming. Instead of, if it was a run to the right, he would have everyone run it to the left. He would do the opposite thing of whatever the play call said for like the first 10 plays. And I thought that was genius.
And I don't remember what team he was with. I think he was with Oklahoma when that happened, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
Yeah, I can
I
remember.
don't quote me on that though, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But whatever team it was, his team jumped out to this crazy lead early on,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
and then the other team realized like, oh crap, never mind, like just throw us away, like this is not working, and then
Yes.
they just played football and they crushed them,
Yeah.
like so.
But still, again, Mike Leach was one of the great coaches to listen to, just the stories he could tell.
Yeah, uh, classic character right there.
Hmm.
One of my favorite characters of all time in football. But like I said, he passed away. Mississippi State, when he passed away, they basically get promoted their defense coordinator, I believe it was, to be the head coach. And the first thing he did was get rid of the air raid offense, which is what Mike Leach was famous for. Well, Mississippi State had a bunch of upperclassmen. So you have a bunch of players who are juniors and seniors who were recruited to run one system, and they're like, oh, never mind, we're going to do ground and pound. When he said that, they should have fired him right there. Like, no, that's not how we're going to, like, if you want to do that in 3 years when these guys aren't here, knock yourself out. But it's just not going to work right now because the personnel we have is all juniors and seniors for this air raid offense. And then ironically, his defense took a big step backwards this year too. So obviously, he had to move on there. Um, Indiana fired their head coach today, Tom Allen. That's one of those schools that it's not really a football school; they're more for their basketball.
Hmm.
But off the top of my head, I can't think of any other Power Five schools that have moved on from their coaches. Do you know of any?
I think that those were the big ones so far.
Yeah.
I did write down my little notes here. Northwestern's interim coach. I think they finally removed the interim coach
Okay.
and made him the head coach. I can't remember his name, but he was the interim coach this year, and
Yeah.
he made him very competitive.
Yep. Um, the Big Ten though really only had three teams and then a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
Yeah,
So
let's be honest.
let's and I guess you could throw Iowa in there. There's three really good teams, one Iowa, and then mumbo jumbo.
Yeah,
Because
I would,
I am not gonna call Iowa a good football team. I'm sorry, I just can't.
they're great at defense and special teams, man. If you ever want
I
to
was
fall asleep while watching a football game, watch any team that plays Iowa.
If
They'll
you're a
put you.
fan of punting and you love the punter more than and you want a punter's jersey and feel like you belong in the stadium with a punter's jersey on, go to Iowa.
Yes,
They probably with this NIL stuff, they probably pay the punter the most on the team.
I would not be surprised.
I would not be shocked either. Punter, and then the second would be the punt returner.
Yeah,
That's Iowa football for you right there.
Yep.
And that's who Michigan's playing in the conference championship. Which, oh, look at this! Look at these transitions today. That one was not planned.
That was not planned. That was beautiful transition.
Oh, that was beautiful. Michigan is playing Iowa in the conference championship this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to start with that game though.
No.
We are going to start in the Conference USA, where we have New Mexico State at number 25 Liberty. This game will be played on Liberty's campus. Earlier this year, these two teams met at Liberty. Liberty won that matchup 33-17. I don't really know a whole lot about either team, to be completely honest with you guys. I haven't watched. So for most of my adult life, I've worked Saturdays. Last year was my first year where I actually had Saturdays off. And then I was in a very serious relationship where she's not a sports person. So she's like, you can watch a little bit of college football, but like you can watch your teams, but I'd rather you not be away every Saturday. And I go, okay, that's fair. And then we decided to get married, so we are now married for our first year. We got married back in June, so this is our first football season being married. So we're trying to figure out, again, football is the one sport she hates the most too. So I know. So we are trying to figure out a way that I can be educated enough on my football without her hating me too much. So
That's
I
fair.
watch a lot of highlights, listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff about football. But so I can only watch the Michigan game and the Lions game. But that's pretty much all I'm
So
allowed
you
to
missed out
watch.
a
And
couple good
yeah,
games
yeah.
last
So
week.
I missed a couple of great games last week. Alabama, for example.
That game
Missed.
was
Yeah, I heard about
Auburn
it.
should have won that game.
Yeah, I heard about what happened. I go, holy crap. So like again, I'm not like completely out of the loop. I'll watch, and I wake up at like 5:30 every morning. She wakes up at 9, so I have 3.5 hours to watch all my highlights. So that's when I catch up on all the games. But anyways, New Mexico State at Liberty. Liberty for the longest time, or they might still be undefeated. No, they lost one. I believe they lost one. Did
Did
they?
they? I thought they were undefeated because I think
I know they're ranked
they're
25.
ranked 20. Okay, yeah. So I think they're undefeated still.
Let's see. Go ahead, say what you're gonna say while I'm looking.
Yeah, Liberty. I was just gonna say that this would be their first conference title appearance since 2016, which was
Okay.
the last time they're in title. And they actually have not won the title since 2008 was their last outright championship, meaning they didn't share the title with anyone. And for New Mexico State, it's also their first conference title in a while. Last time they won it was back in 1978, and that's when they were in the Missouri Valley Conference.
New Mexico State went 50 some odd years, closer to 60 years, without going to a bowl game. And then in 2018, they made it to a bowl game. And then this year they're at 10 wins, so they'll be going bowling again this year. I did look it up. Liberty is still undefeated. There was somebody, though. Oh, it's James Madison that lost. I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, we'll get to them.
And we'll get to them later. But for this game, I think Liberty is the better team. And I have them winning this one to remain undefeated.
Yeah, I was. I'll take Liberty as well. Especially because it's not like a normal Power Five championship, so it's not a neutral field. It's on campus field, so you get the home field advantage.
Yep. Now going to the Power 5 schools here. In the Pac-12, we have number 6 Oregon facing number 4 Washington. This game will be played out at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, home of the Las Vegas Raiders. I did it that time. I did not call them Oakland. I'm so proud of myself here.
Beautiful. Me too.
These two teams played earlier in the season. Washington won that game 36-33. That game was played at Washington. So we talked a little bit last week when the team is the home team. Usually they're the 3-point favorite in Vegas. And that's typically so. This is should be a really good game. Both teams are really evenly matched. Both quarterbacks, Bo Nix for Oregon, playing some good football, and then Michael Penix Jr. for Washington. Both of them, especially Penix Jr., is in the Heisman conversation.
Yeah, same with Bo Nix.
Yeah.
I think Oregon's gonna win this. Feel like they've been playing better. Bo Nix is probably gonna win the Heisman in my opinion. Just the way he's been playing ever since. I mean, even in the Washington game, he did pretty good. But I think Bo Nix is gonna lead Oregon over Washington. The last time these teams, like you said, they met earlier. Last time each team was in the conference title, Oregon was back in 2021. They ended up losing. So their last conference title win was back in 2020. And Washington hasn't been there in a while. 2018 was their last appearance, and they actually won the conference title that year too.
So wasn't Washington the team that was like really good like 2-3 years ago, and then like last year, 2 years ago, like laid a huge like were really bad, and
Yeah.
they played Michigan, and everyone's like Michigan's playing crap, and then like the year after I think it was they like exploded, and I'm like, weren't they crap last year? Isn't that
Um,
like that was like 2-3 years ago they played Michigan, and
yeah, I think that
everyone's
was
like
2021 they did. They
okay, and
played them.
everyone because everyone complains about Michigan's schedule being soft, and that was the game
Yeah.
that one of the games that they were complaining about. And then like I think last year Washington like had a really good season,
Hmm.
and I'm like, I thought they were supposed to be soft, and I understand each year is different, but like
Yeah.
it's not that much of a drastic
Mm.
turnaround for most teams, you know.
Right.
But anyways, I'm gonna take Oregon too, just because I'm a Ducks fan. No,
Quack,
so are
quack,
you.
quack.
Quack 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 quack. Because they're Duckworth. No, but like you said, they're playing better football right now. Washington, for lack of a better term, has been playing with their food a lot this season. So they don't really like put teams away, and I think that's gonna come back to bite them this week.
Hmm. They had an emotional win against their rivals, Washington State. They had to kick a game-winning field goal to win it. So there's a lot of emotion there. We'll see if it affects them this week in the championship game. I don't think it will, but I think it's gonna be another good game. Probably, I would say probably this. It's gonna be right up there with this. It's probably gonna be the
Yeah,
second best game of the weekend.
yeah, I agree with that. The next game we have here is number 20 Oklahoma State at number 7 Texas.
Yep.
This game will be played at AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys. Both teams lost to Oklahoma this year. Oklahoma State has beat Texas in 2021 and 2022. So now we're in 2023. Can they make it a three-peat? That's the question to ask here. Texas, they've been down the last few years. They're traditionally though one of the better teams in college football. But Steve Sarkisian's turned things around there, and he's been collecting quarterbacks. Like they're going out of style. He's got Quinn Ewers, and then his third string is Archie Manning, who is Peyton's nephew. Peyton and Eli's
It's
nephew.
also Eli's nephew. Everyone wants to
Yeah.
go with Peyton first. I go with Eli first.
Eli's more of the college football guy because they got on the Mothership Network, they got their places. Peyton
Yeah.
does the NFL and Eli does college football. So we will say Eli's nephew.
Uh, just a little update. Texas, their first appearance since 2018. For the title game. They actually have not won the title game since 2009. I
Wow.
believe Colt McCoy was the quarterback that year. In Oklahoma State, this would be I think it's only their second appearance. They appeared back in 2021. They did not win. Their last win, I think, was in the Big 12 for the champion. Was 2011 was their last Big 12 championship. Yeah, I think that was it.
So for this game, I'm going to take Texas to win. I just think they're the better team. And Oklahoma State. It's nice to see somebody besides Oklahoma and Texas in this game. Or I think Kansas State was in this last year. I like when like smaller teams like Kansas State and Or not, I guess they're not small schools, but like teams you don't
Right.
think of traditional
Yeah.
powerhouses like Texas, Oklahoma. But I
Correct.
just
Yeah.
think Texas is just the better team here, and especially with this game being played in Texas. Now,
Yeah.
Texas is a huge state, so I have no idea how far Austin is from. Jerry's
Stillwater.
World could be close. Yeah, Jerry's World could be closer to Oklahoma for all I know than it is to
Right.
Texas. So,
Correct. Yeah. I
but
got
anyways, I'll take the Longhorns on this one.
yeah, give me the burnt orange. Like you said, they've been playing the best. Yeah, I'll stick with them.
Next, yeah, I'm getting comfortable over here.
No, you're good. I didn't know if I had to keep, filling the dead air.
Nope, you're
Jones.
good. You're good.
Don't put that
Next
pressure
we
on
got
me.
yeah. Next we got Georgia at Alabama. Georgia the top team, and by the way, my rankings are. I believe I got them from ESPN.com. I believe they're college football rankings as of Monday, November 27th. So by the time you guys listen to this one, if you listen to it after the college football rankings come out, these numbers will probably look different. So for example, Washington will probably be 3. Oregon will probably be 5, for example. I think everybody's going to move up a spot, and then hopefully Ohio State drops to 8, which is what I'm really hoping happens. We'll see what happens there. But anyways, these are not the numbers that or the rankings that'll happen at game time. These are Monday, November 27th rankings. Anyways, Georgia, number 1 team in the land, at number 8, Alabama. Alabama's technically the home team for this one. This one will be played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Alabama has won 6 of the last 7 meetings against Georgia. The most recent matchup, though, going to the Bulldogs. And Georgia's been the dominant team in college football the last 3 seasons. They're the new Alabama. You want to beat the best, you want to be the best, you gotta beat the best. Nick Saban, though, yeah, Nick Saban's got the boys humming though. With Alabama, their only loss this year coming to Texas, who we just talked about. Should be a really good game. This is basically NFL football right here.
Yeah, both sides have first round talent on both sides of the ball, offense and defense.
So
it's
probably
the closest.
Not even probably. This is. Go ahead.
No, yeah, you're right. This is going to be the closest to an NFL game in college that you will see.
It'll be by far the best game on paper, yes. That is. Now, obviously, things happen, and paper isn't always how the games go, but on paper, this is the best matchup of the weekend.
Yes. Yeah. Georgia's last appearance was obviously last year. They won the conference title last year. Bama's last appearance is 2021, and that's also the last time that they won the conference title.
I thought that. Oh no, J-Mo's not a rookie. Never mind. Was that 2021? Was that the year that J-Mo tore his ACL? Jameson Williams with the Lions.
Yeah, would have been. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that was in the playoffs, or was it the title game?
I thought it was the conference game. Because
that's what I meant. Yeah, conference. I think you're right. It was the conference title.
But I think they had 2 players get injured. One in the conference title game and one in the playoff.
Yeah.
But anyways, like we said, this is the matchup of the weekend. I honestly have no idea who to pick. Alabama's got the momentum. Georgia hasn't lost in a long time. I think Nick Saban pulls the upset off here. I think Alabama wins.
I'm going to stick with Georgia.
And by the way, saying Nick Saban pulling off an upset just shows you how good Georgia is.
Yeah. I think Georgia's going to keep rolling. I think it's going to be closer. I didn't even see what the spread was, but I think it'll still be a close game, and I think Georgia's going to end up pulling it out at the end.
There was only one game I looked at the spread for because the over-under of it was absolutely ridiculous.
Was it the next game we're talking about?
And my transition. Again, I'm not planning these out, but like my transitions today are just spot on.
Yeah, that's only because I was in it, and
yeah, I know.
Iowa, you always take the under.
I know, but did you see like the spread? Okay, so the next game we're talking about is number 3 Michigan. Technically, Iowa's the home team. I don't know how that works, but
They
technically, Iowa's.
it the
Does it rotate?
divisions, yeah, every year.
Okay, okay. So Iowa's the home team, but this game will be played at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. So the website I use for my gambling, I don't know if we're allowed to say websites like this, and I don't. At some point, I'd like this to get monetized, so I don't really want to say anything that's going to get me in any trouble with anybody. So the website I have been using for my gambling addiction has this one at Michigan minus 22.5, which means if I place a, so for those of you who don't gamble, minus 22.5 means if I pick Michigan at minus 22.5, Michigan has to win the game by 23 or more for me to win the bet. If they win by 22, I lose the bet, and that's how that works. The over-under for this game is 35.5. That's the lowest over-under by 14 points of any of these title games. And by the way, so Michigan's got a 23-point favor, basically. And the over-under is 36.
Oof.
So,
Yeah.
what's Vegas want the score to be then? Like,
That's the. It's gonna be interesting.
So they're expecting like a 33-3 game, and you know what? I don't blame Vegas on that one.
Right.
Michigan has won the last 3 matchups over Iowa, including the 2021, which I'm sure was the last time Iowa. Actually, I don't know. Iowa's in the Big Ten West. They're probably in this game every year.
No. So actually, Iowa. Yeah, 2021 was their last appearance. The last time they actually won a conference, they were co-champions in 2004. Their last outright win, meaning there's no co-champions, was back in 1985.
Wow.
Yeah. And for Michigan, obviously last year, 2022, and 2022 is when they won.
So last time these two teams faced off, Michigan won 42-3, and that was in the championship game in 2021. Iowa's team, we joked about it, but it's not a stretch. Like, they love their punchers there in Iowa. And then they took Cade McNamara off our hands for us, and then they ended up breaking him in half. So when you think Iowa football, honestly, though, all jokes aside, you usually think of a really solid defense and a really solid offensive line. Like, that's what Iowa's known for.
Tight ends.
Oh, and tight ends, yes. Tight end U.
Yes.
But the offensive line this year just doesn't feel as dominant as years past. The defense is the defense of the same old every year. For example, they beat Nebraska. The score was stupidly low too. I watched a little bit 13-10. I watched a little bit of that game on Friday. Listen, I had to go to a doctor's appointment. So before we left for the doctor's appointment, I turned it on for 5 minutes. And yeah, now I'm gonna go to the doctor and all that. Bowling teeth sounds more fun than this. That's not why we were going to the doctor, okay? We were not going to the doctor to pull teeth, and everybody's fine. So,
Iowa.
Iowa, yeah, they're fun. Yeah. Michigan's gonna win this game, and it's not gonna be close. That's Iowa.
Yeah.
Iowa's in the perfect, and now with this Big Ten realignment, the two teams that get hurt the most with this are Iowa and Penn State, if you ask me, because the way that it's set up right now, Iowa's gonna win the Big Ten West more often than not. Just because who else is over there? You got Michigan State, who gets lucky every once in a while. I think Nebraska's on that side, Minnesota.
Michigan State not on the West, by the way. It's Wisconsin.
It's Wisconsin. I thought Michigan State was over there.
So that was before we added Maryland and Rutgers, I believe. I think it was called the Legends and I don't know, something stupid, honestly.
Yeah.
That's when they decided to split Michigan State, and Ohio State. But yeah. It's basically Iowa and Wisconsin division. I believe I looked this up earlier. I think Wisconsin has the most appearances for the Big Ten West, and then
Yeah.
Iowa, and then obviously Ohio State and Michigan are the I think actually Michigan's tied with Michigan State, for the most appearances in the East.
Well, I mean, Michigan up until the last 3 years really hasn't been in the conference championship a whole lot because you can't beat Ohio State, and that's basically the playing
Yeah.
game for the last
Yeah.
while, you know.
Yeah.
Moving on, though, we could talk about that game for way too long. We got the last one for the college football conference championship weekend. We got number 10 Louisville at number 5 Florida State. This game will be played at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, home of the Panthers, who just fired Frank Reich. Look at that. This episode's coming full circle now.
Full circle, baby.
Full circle. Look at that.
Yeah.
This one, like I said, Florida State, who lost their quarterback on a gruesome leg injury. And then their backup got injured last week, actually, so they're down to their third string quarterback. But everything I know, the backup at least will be playing this week. I didn't wrote these names down. I'm absolutely terrible. I know the starter that broke his leg is Travis. But I can't think of this like Blanket. It's not Blankenship. He's the kicker for the Colts.
It's something like that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Not many people. Not this game really doesn't really excite me too much. Just because Louisville, like they're having a good season. They're number 10 in the country, but like Louisville, this football does not excite me. Florida State, with the injury to their quarterback in their quarterback room, they'll probably if they win, they'll make the college football playoffs just because you can't. They're undefeated. You can't let an undefeated conference championship Power 5 school not in. It doesn't matter if their quarterback's broken or not. You just gotta let that team in.
Right.
Over the last 10 games though between these two teams, it's 5-5.
Oh wow, I
yeah.
didn't know that. This is actually going to be Louisville's first ever ACC title game appearance. The last time they were in a title game was back in 2012, and that was I think they were in the Big East, or if I think that was still around in 2012. I can't remember. But their last outright win was back in 2006. Florida's last appearance in the title game, the conference title game, was 2014. They also won the title that year, and they also won the national title that year. So 2014 was good to Florida State.
And I believe 2014 was the first year for the college football playoff. Because I saw the other day that there was a chance that the first team, 4-team playoff could be this year's first or 4-team playoff. Now with Michigan being Ohio State, that's probably not going to happen now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think 2014 was the first year for that.
So this game, I'm just going to take, I have no idea who to take. I'm going to take Louisville just because I think they're healthier right now. Florida State had a scare against Florida last week, able to kick a late field goal to win by 9, but Florida had a down year this year. And I understand rivalry games and stuff like that, but yeah, I'm going to take Louisville to win this one, even though they just lost, I believe, to Kentucky this past week.
I'm going to take Florida State only because I think they have better talent, even without their starting quarterback.
And then there's one other game that Alex wanted to go over, and that was SMU and Tulane.
Yeah.
So I did not know about this until about 5 minutes before we started recording, so I know nothing about this game. The rest of the games I know nothing about anyways, but I did a little research on them. This one I know little or less than nothing actually. So this one's all you.
Oh, thank you. Anyways, this will be SMU's first appearance in the American Athletic Conference title game. They were actually a pretty good team back in the early 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Before they got the death penalty, which is basically what college teams are doing now and having boosters play for players. But yeah, it'd be their first appearance if they win. It would be their first title since 1984 for I think they were co-champions back in the Southwest Conference, I think is what it was called back then. And the last time they won it outright was 1982. Tulane, I think this is their first appearance since last year, 2022. Which is actually when they won. I think they won the title last year, if I remember right. And it's their first. It'll be their, I guess, second title since 1998, back when they were in the Conference USA. And that's all I got.
All right. So again, I don't know much about either team,
Nope.
but I do know that Tulane has been ranked for most of the season. So just based off that alone, I'm going to take Tulane to win this game.
I'm going to go based on the mascots, and I'm also going to take Tulane, the Green Wave or Green Machine Wave, whatever they're called.
That's a great, like their logo is beautiful.
Yes, it is.
So I got the Monday night game going on behind me, and Justin Fields has escaped like 6 sacks this drive. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. Anyways, so that's what we got for the college football championship weekend. And then before we leave you guys tonight, we have some exciting story. Anyways, we're gonna start with the sad story of somebody getting fired, and then we're gonna end with Jacksonville State and James Madison, who both just recently came up to Division I football. And so we were trying to figure out before the episode why this is even a rule. So you got to wait 2 years, I believe it is, after you move up from FCS to FBS, or is it the other way around? Is it FBS?
Going from FCS, which is football conference or football championship series, I think is what they call it, and then FBS is football bowl series or something. I don't know.
Okay.
It's basically going from Division 2 to Division 1.
Well, I think it's like 1A to 1.
Stupid numbers and letters.
Yeah, it's basically I won't say that.
1A and 1A, something like that. Anyways,
I won't say my thought because I don't want to hurt your feelings. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Appalachian State for those of you listening at home. Anyways,
hey, they were. We don't need to talk about it.
We don't need to talk about that game. Anyways,
hey, they were winning titles in their division when they beat Michigan. So
yeah, I know. Anyways, we'll move on from that before we get in trouble there. Jacksonville State being led by Rich Rodriguez, who coached at Michigan for a time of his life, and then James Madison, who were undefeated up until losing to Appalachian. Wow.
Full circle again, man. Good job.
Wow, I'm not even trying anymore. Like, it's just happening.
Hey, it's working out, it's just, I like it.
This cold medicine is doing wonders. Anyways.
You got the name brand stuff, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's why. That's good.
Anyways, both teams are now bowl eligible because not enough teams became bowl eligible this year in college football. So Jacksonville State with 10 wins and James Madison with 11 wins will be going to bowl games. Have they announced what bowl games they're going to, or have they just said they're going to the bowl games?
They just said that they're eligible. It'd probably be a lower tier bowl game.
No, I do know that they're not eligible still to compete in their conference championship games, which is stupid. Yeah. But we looked it up because when we first signed on tonight, I go, why the heck is this a rule? Like, this is the dumbest rule. By the way, the Bears kicker just missed the kick. Shocker. Like, we've never seen that before in the history of sports.
Never.
Anyways, so Marshall back in the day, Randy Moss and a bunch of other D1 talent level players, for whatever reason, either grades or off the field issues, ended up going to smaller schools. And Marshall goes, well, you can just come here and then we'll go up to the next level and you guys can play for us. Well, NCAA goes, yeah, that can't happen. So they said if you go from FCS to FBS, at the time it wasn't those, but that's what it is now. You got to wait 2 years. So at the time, we understand the rule. Now it's just like, okay, let's get rid of that rule because nobody's gonna do that. Well, I guess you could still with all this paying player stuff. So
yeah.
But that is all we have for you guys today. There was a couple of baseball things. We'll talk about that Probably we'll mention those on Thursday before we start the football. A couple signings. Tigers made a signing, which I kind of want to go into a little bit of detail into. We don't want to keep these episodes going too long anymore, so we're gonna try to stick to an hour max. Now it'll go over an hour here and there, but we don't want the hour 45 like we did you guys last week.
There's just a lot we had to talk about last week.
Yeah. And I felt like we avoided the rabbit trails a lot better last couple times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you guys so much for checking today's episode out. Be sure to like us on Facebook and Instagram. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you find us on podcasts. Thank you guys so much for checking today's episode out. Leave us a comment on anything. Let us know what you want us to cover. Because once football ends, we have ideas. We'll say that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if there's something that you guys want our opinion on in the world of sports, it could be anything.
Please comment.
Yes, please let us know. We're not looking for things, but we're looking for things, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Like, we have enough stuff to fill, but, like, we also want this to be enjoyable for you guys, too. So,
yeah. If you want some two loser moron opinions on a subject, well, we're your guys. So.
Yeah. And we'll make it fun for you, too.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're like, but like if you want to know celebrity power couples like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, don't come here because we ain't going to talk about it. So don't, like, that's off limits. But anyways, thank you guys so much for checking today's episode out. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The next episode will be coming out on Thursday. That'll be our NFL preview show with a few baseball things going on. Thank you guys so much and have a great day.